All right, welcome to Living in Tacoma, Washington. This is the only weekly Tacoma centered real estate podcast webinar that comes at you once a week, every single week, letting you know what's going on right here in our local market, not only for real estate, but also what is just going on around us. Today, we're going to be looking at a few things. Number one, we're going to be taking a look at housing inventory, mortgage rates, and then what 9 out of 10 buyers are saying about homes right here in Tacoma. The goal today is going to be diving a little bit more into more data than we probably normally will do. But I really want to keep you guys apprised as to what is going on in the housing market here in Tacoma. So first thing, before we kick it off, let's take a look at what the housing demand is doing. So demand for housing is really on the rise. Now, this is despite mortgage rates being higher than compared to the previous year. Now, it's important to consider this increase, coming in from demand that was set by like unprecedentedly low levels, right? We had lower levels than we normally would have. And you can see right here, if you're watching this on YouTube, if not, I'm going to walk you through it. But looking forward to purchase application data. Looks really positive for 2024. You can see this 4-week average over time. Again, I like to look back to 2019 because that seems like more of a normal year, if you ask me. So there has been a positive trend in purchase applications for the last 8 weeks. This is starting when mortgage rates kind of initially dropped from that really brutal 8% high. Now, this slightly higher rates recently, they haven't had too much of a negative impact on the data. So we can then take a peek and just hop right on over and take a look at what our housing inventory looks like. So here is a little shot of our housing inventory showing the inventory and new listings. So this is going to be on kind of a national scale, and then we are going to duck back in and take a peek at what it looks like right here in Tacoma. But what a lot of people miss is it's important to understand the macro and also the micro. So we want to know what's going on at a national level because that does play in some ways to us here locally, and we want to be armed with all of the information. So weekly housing inventory data for January 19th through 26th, it does show a decrease. Now, this decrease isn't crazy. It's from about 506,000 to 503,000. Well, I'll tell you, as I'm looking at this is a pretty normal cycle. There's typically a drop off in January. You're going through Christmas, you're going through January. The market just hasn't really turned back up for the spring yet. But, this does provide hopes for us because even if you adjust this seasonally, it's a long way from the bottom and where we were sitting at the bottom. Weekly inventory change. So again, the 19th to 26th inventory fell from that 506 to 503. If you take a look and we can kind of pull back to last year and take a look at what we were sitting at last year, inventory actually fell from about 472,000 homes to 466,000 homes. So the great thing about this is not only was the decrease not as bad, and we're feeling this here locally. We're going to dive into this in a second as far as how much we are really seeing the market come alive. But look at those numbers. 506 to 503. Last year, 472 to 466. There are a lot more homes coming to the marketplace right now in January than there were last year. We're already seeing nationally a decrease in mortgage rates, which is fantastic for everybody who's wanting to buy. And we're also seeing inventory kind of creep up. And, we hit the bottom of the inventory in like 2022. There's about 240,000 homes on the market. And, the tippy top of that was 569,000. So as a buyer, you're going to get a little more options as far as what you can buy nationally. And as a seller, you're starting to see other sellers be more comfortable going to the market. So that's pretty amazing. But if we look at data going back to what I consider a lot more balanced market, roughly this same exact time right here, the 19th to the 26th, we go back to 2015. Okay. The active listings were at 938,000 homes on the market. So we are still definitely a long way from what I would call a balanced market, but we are really seeing some improvement in these areas as well, right? This is good stuff. Now, new listing data has grown on a year-over-year basis. New listings in the same week. 2024, we've had 44,900, so almost 45,000 homes hit the market. 2023 nationally was 42. Obviously, 2023, we took a complete beating on, right? 2023 was tough with rates and everything else. And then 2022, 47,713. So we have more inventory than we did in 2023, but not as much as we did in 2022. Now, 2022 is kind of the start of the rates getting a little, I guess you'd call it silly. So there's that. And if we look at price cuts as far as on our homes that we're seeing right now, historically about 1/3 of all homes that hit the market have a price cut before they sell. Okay. Price cuts do tend to rise as mortgage rates increase and demand starts to weaken. So I thought it was interesting, as we mentioned before, about more sellers coming to market, more buyers coming to market. I thought it'd be interesting to take a look at what those numbers look like. So for 2024, at 31%, so a little bit lower than the average trend of 1/3. As opposed to 2023, there was 34% of homes that were taking a price cut. Now remember, inventory was super tight, like we just talked about in 2023. So that really came into play as why there weren't as many homes taking price cuts there. And then in 2022, it was only 20% of homes that really ended up hitting the price cuts there. So kind of a good outline as far as what we're seeing in the real estate market. Let's take a look real fast at what the pending home sales index looks like. Now, this provides us with an overview of recent trends in pending home sales and kind of an economic outlook for the real estate market in general. So this is going to be off of December because that is the most recent data that we have. And when we look at the pending sales index, this is rated, based on 2001 is what's going to count as 100. And what we're seeing in this chart, if you are not live with us on YouTube right now, is that month over month pending home sales actually increased by 8.3% from November to December. And again, obviously, this has something to do with rates decreasing. So month over month contract signings grew in the Midwest, the South, and right here in the West. But they did reduce in the Northeast a little bit. And there is a very, very limited inventory out Northeast. So in comparison to the same period the previous year, pending home sales actually declined in the Northeast, but improved in the Midwest, South, and West. So pretty similar. Now, the pending sales index, which serves as kind of a forward-looking indicator of home sales based on contract signings, reached a value of 77.3 in December. On a year-over-year basis, pending transactions are up 1.3%, an index value of 100, of course, corresponds to that contract level of 2001. So you see here the index compared to 2001 is 61 out west, which is our region, but it is up 14%. So contract signings were up 14% from November to December. And I think this is really important because December is usually a very, 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 very slow month. People don't want to put their homes on the market when it's Christmas and the holidays and you've got families coming in, but we still really saw some big, fast growth right there throughout the year. So if we take a look at our month over month numbers here in Pierce County, that's the county that we service. So we're usually pretty big on, showing those numbers. What you're going to see is that as of this month, January, with one left, we had 878 new listings come to market. And then if we kind of decrease ourselves back to 2023, it was 912 for the whole month. So as of right now, you're seeing that 878-ish. We still have one more week. And so I think we're going to crest that 912 from what we had last year, which I would love to see more inventory hitting the market for our home buyers here in Pierce County, Bonnie Lake, Tacoma, Puyallup. We still really, really need more inventory. We are way lower than a lot of places. And that's driving up some pretty substantial demand. And when we look at the last 7 days, we get a really strong idea of what our market is showing us is happening. And so over the last 7 days, looking across all property types, we have 214 new listings in the last week. Now, if you put that on top of the 878, that's going to put us over last year. So that is exciting to see that we are going to have more inventory coming right here, right? And back on market, there are 62 homes that have came back to the market. We have seen 111 homes with prices reduced. Now, again, that seems like it's a little bit more than what we've seen nationally. But right now in this market, a lot of people are trying to figure out what their homes values are as rates decrease and as more inventory comes to the market. 331 homes have went pending, 205 have closed, and 40 have expired. So we are seeing some homes come to the market that, are not selling. And that's 40. That's not too bad. A lot of that has to do with price, with marketing. Again, most homes are getting scooped up as we've shown you throughout the process. So that kind of gives you an idea of where we sit compared to the national market when it comes to real estate here in Tacoma. If you have any questions at all about this, please feel free to, reach out to us, have that conversation. We would love to chat with you about it. If you're looking to make your move or sell a house here in the Tacoma, Seattle area, definitely interview myself and Chris Titus. You'll be glad you did. You can reach us at 253-225-2395 or bit.ly, that's bit.ly/move-me-to-WA to set up a Zoom call. Again, that's bit.ly/move-me-to-WA. And that will schedule some time on our Zoom link. All right. Now, 9 out of 10 buyers are saying this about your home here in Tacoma, Washington. It is no doubt at all that buyers have had to make adjustments between rates, between low inventory, between homes selling crazy fast. People's expectations have had to change. And because of that, buyers are really widening the horizon as to what they are willing to do with houses. Now, the great thing about this, there was actually a survey that came out from Remax, which is a brokerage, and it went over some of what these home buyers are willing to do. The headline is nearly 80% of prospective home buyers willing to adjust their home buying plans, getting creative to achieve home ownership in 2024. And this is a fantastic survey, not only for buyers who are looking for ideas, but as sellers, somebody who has a house to sell here in Tacoma, here in Pierce County, there is a lot of leverage in understanding what this means. So over the next 12 months, people are willing to not only do these things, but 9 out of 10. So they're also open to having conversations with their real estate agents about these things. So what I want to do is I wanted to look at this with you guys and have just an open dialogue on, what my thoughts are with this information. So current market conditions are definitely what's driving this. Fluctuating market conditions, uncertain rate environment continue to impact home buyers' plans. That's causing a lot of people to get more creative. 43% of respondents have considered both other types of properties, including fixer-uppers, foreclosures, and additional other types of financing. 56% of respondents said they would consider purchasing a fixer-upper in need of remodeling. Now, here's what I'm going to say when it comes to purchasing a fixer-upper. For one, if you're not working with us, you need to have a real estate agent that definitely has a network of contractors that can come out and look at this house. Our guy, Moises, came out, looked at several houses with clients, especially clients from YouTube that are looking to relocate into the area. A lot of times when we look at a fixer-upper, there's a few things we're looking at as a consumer, and that is primarily, can I get the best deal? And then we think, well, we'll just live in this for the next 2 years. We'll remodel it. It'll be a fantastic place to live. And then we'll turn around and sell it and we'll upgrade. But the reality is that a lot of people get into these fixer-upper type scenarios and they are in over their head. They think it's going to be cosmetic, and instead it's full on rehabilitation. So if you're working with us or looking for a fixer-upper, obviously I'm going to have one of our contractors come out with us and look over the property, give us some estimates. That way, because even if you get $50,000 off the price of a house, if you've got to spend hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars on big repairs, it's not a good deal. It looks pretty upfront. Now, things that we can tell you that make sense are anything that is cosmetic. Like if you need to replace just some carpet, if tile needs to be cleaned, grout needs to be repainted, in fact, painting in general, all those things are reasonable fixer-upper things to do. But a full-on flip can cost a lot of money, create a lot of stress, and a lot of headache over time. So we want to make sure that before you pull the trigger on anything like that, you have someone looking out for you in that situation. We do not want to be entering a structural repair scenario for a fixer-upper. It says 34% of respondents would consider purchasing with a down payment of less than 20%. Folks, you do not need 20% to buy a house. It is wild that 34% of respondents would consider less than 20%. Unless you have an exorbitant cash flow, I think there are a lot smarter places for you to spend your money at than this giant down payment. Now, that's kind of a blanket statement. Obviously, we have to look at each situation individually, but the majority of folks are not putting 20% down when it comes to purchasing a house. In fact, 5% conventional, 3.5% FHA, or, in some cases, not really so much in Pierce County, but a zero down USDA or a VA loan that doesn't require any money down are still getting the job done. So really, in my opinion, as opposed to saving 20% up for your down payment, I think there are a lot smarter places that you can put your money. So 99% of the time, I don't actually recommend doing this. So more than a quarter of consumers indicated they would likely consider purchasing a multifamily home and then having, non-family owner tenants. Um, this is to save money. This is a fantastic house hacking is probably one of the smartest ways that you can go about buying a house. And now there are new rules for multifamily purchasing that just came into play. So if you want to know more about house hacking and some of the new things that came into play with multi-unit housing, shoot us a phone call, text, or an email. It's located in the description right there in front of you. But I think this is fantastic. Why not go ahead and buy a duplex for the same price as a house, rent it out to your buddy, they can pay your mortgage, and then you virtually have no housing cost. Now, you're seeing a lot more of these multifamily properties increase pretty significantly in price over the past few years. More people have obviously caught on to that, but we're also seeing situations where like Tacoma's really pushing for accessory dwelling units or detached accessory dwelling units. These are all options that can come into play when you're purchasing a property that can save you money by allowing somebody else to live on the property and pay your mortgage. So it's crazy that only about a quarter of people are considering that. I know we have a family of 7, so it would be pretty hard for us to be able to get somebody in there, right, to live in. I mean, we just don't have any space. But if you're single, if you're a married couple, if you just maybe have one kid, I feel like there's a lot of opportunities and options right there that you could take advantage of. 13% of home buyers reported they'd be, willing to consider a super commute. This is crazy to me, okay? Because I think a super commute is ridiculous. That's just me. You let me know what you think down in the comments. But for perspective, a super commute is 2 hours or more. I don't know if y'all have ever drove to Seattle in the mornings, but that hour and 15 minutes feels like hell. I cannot see super commuting being a really, man, just a good idea for most people. I think in the moment when you're like, I need a house, I want to buy something, I don't care if I have to drive 2 to 3 hours. I can tell you right now, I'm seeing in the tech sector in Seattle, a lot of people moved down here to Pierce County, and now they are struggling because some of these companies are wanting them to come back up north, back east, to be in the office more. So, maybe if I was a work from home person that had to go in the office like once, twice a week, I might consider the super commute. But just short of you not being able to afford anything in this area or in the area, I can't see that being a very safe option. A lot of people are considering right now purchasing land and putting a tiny home on it. I think this is super unreasonable. Like, by the time you buy land here in Western Washington, construct a tiny house and plop it on the land, the cost is just insane. So I think tiny homes are not a great option in Western Washington. Everybody's got their own opinion, obviously. But I've not yet talked to a buyer who thinks this is something that, they'd be into. 57% of respondents mentioned they would purchase a condo, attached home, and they would do this to achieve lower maintenance costs. Now, buying a condo is kind of it's kind of a balancing act. Like if you have a newer condo, you're probably going to have less maintenance costs, but it's going to be a lot more expensive. If you have an older condo, you're probably not going to pay very much up front, but your maintenance costs could be super, super high. And don't forget, you have your condo owners associations, special assessments, all that. Now, ultimately, if you can buy a townhouse or a condo and it will get you into the real estate market, I think this is an excellent choice. We see a lot of people buy condos in Tacoma. We're seeing more in like West Seattle, some obviously in Seattle as well. But where homes are very expensive, you can get into a condo for, a pretty reasonable price. Looking at, let's see here, the past 3 years when it comes to Pierce County, as far as condo sales go, you can see from here that your sales price, your average condo sales price in Pierce County is $373,817. That's a pretty big difference between that and buying a typical, residential 3-bedroom at $571,845. So you're getting it's about $200,000 cheaper to be able to jump into condo and have home ownership right there. So I am 100% on board with condos. I think there's so many new beautiful ones. Looking at downtown Tacoma, looking at Point Ruston, the opportunities are just fantastic. They do appreciate well. They don't appreciate as fast as a single family home, but it really can be substantial. Just under 30% of people were considering buying a home with a friend or family member. Yeah, that's rough. I mean, I see that more people, especially millennials, are very comfortable asking mom and dad for down payment assistance. And even then, man, I don't know about you guys, but I definitely wouldn't want to have like mom or dad's money hanging over my head, or just kind of, I don't want to say, held captive to anybody, but definitely there could be scenarios where that could get held over your head. But, man, over a quarter of people willing to buy a property with family or friends, that's kind of a lot to digest. Here's my stance on this. If you're buying with a friend, you need to put it into an LLC. Actually, if you're considering this at all, you need to call me. Like, my number is right here on the screen. It's 253-225-2395. Give me a call, shoot me a text. There are protections that need to be put into place. My business is in a partnership. It's very tight. It's very organized. Everything is laid out very clearly. And if you're going to buy property with a friend, it needs to be the same exact way. Now, if you're selling your house, who cares, right? Like, this is fantastic. There's enough money for someone to buy your property. But on the buyer side, you definitely want to make sure that you are protected in case anything ever happens with your friend. Family, this can be really volatile as well. If you buy the property together, there needs to be really, really clear expectations as to, what folks are expecting out of one another in this kind of scenario. Out here in Pierce County, we see a lot of folks that are living multi-generational. This is super normal for out here. So, kids buy a house, mother-in-law lives downstairs. I don't think there's anything wrong with that. Maybe mother-in-law pays rent, helps around, something like that. But when you both put your name on the title, you've got to make sure that you are both well protected, that you're safe from anything legally happening if there's a disagreement. You always need to have a strategy in place, an exit strategy in place, just in case anything does go south. So there you have it. There's nine out of 10 buyers are saying they'd be willing to do these things here in Tacoma to get into a house. So if you're looking to sell, I think this is a fantastic time if you're looking at this Remax article, because it shows that buyers are willing to make moves to get into houses. And if you're looking to buy yourself, we're already seeing an uptick in inventory. So right now could be a fantastic time for you to make that move. Obviously, every situation is different, and that's why it's so important that we connect. Again, my name is Austin of Tacoma. Love having you guys here. And until next week, can't wait till you're out here so we can show you around.